Buckle up. The Insurance Dudes
Was gonna be this way.
Baby Beluga.
Welcome to the Insurance Dudes.
In this episode, Preston Schmidley talks about life, independent agency versus captive agency, and what catapulted his agency to success. Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes podcast.
How you guys doing today?
Awesome,
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just got off a call with my life coach. Life's good, man.
All right. Who do you go to? Or what group?
His name is Bruce Gold. He's a private life coach, and the dude's a gangster. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I mean it's makes a huge impact, man. It's easy to get stuck in this thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
He's for you, right?
yeah. So between working with him once a week and doing floats, those two things free the brain, man.
What are
What's
floats?
Yeah. Look at that.
Seriously? Oh, okay. All right, guys. So I should get paid an affiliate fee for them. But okay. So I do this all the time. So a float is a sensory deprivation water float chamber where essentially there's roughly 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in the bath itself. And what happens is you become the least dense thing in the tank. Now, a few things happen. The water is the same temperature of the human body. So after you get into it and your brain stops doing all the things it's doing, your skin starts to kind of like blur into the water from a sense of touch. So your brain stops processing because you don't, it's a secondary process for us, but like this, I can feel it, right? But like we're used to that. We don't really think much about it, about what we're doing, what we're seeing, what we're smelling and hearing. But your brain the RAM is operating at like 80% at all times, right, of your brain. And so what a sensory deprivation float chamber does is it allows you to function, your brain to function and process without having to spend any bandwidth on what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you feel. So your skin starts to blur into the water because you're the same temperature. You're floating, which adds an additional sense of freedom. It doesn't matter whether your eyes are closed, it's pitch black. You can't really hear anything from the outside. So you literally, I go in there, most people go for 60 to 75 minutes, but I go for 2.5 hours. Just to, dude, wow. I always bring a notepad. Last time I went in there, I came out with, I'll get out 2 or 3 times usually. I came out with like 17 just gangster ideas. So it's
That's
just
awesome.
It's like accelerated
100%.
meditation. Accelerated
100%,
meditation, right?
Because your brain isn't focused on all of this like auxiliary stuff that doesn't provide value.
Right.
So it's just literally like on like the good shit. It's dope. You should try it.
Nice.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Wow.
that seems to be a Northwest thing. My wife has done that up in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
It's common up here. I think it's common in hippie communities. And Seattle has some of that. But like there was even a place when I was in Thailand last month. There's a place there too. So it's definitely global. But there's less representation. Like if you tell people in most places, oh, I'm going to go do a 2.5 hour float, they're like, are you going to be okay? Whereas because most places do 60 minutes. So
like I got a double. Whatever you want to, whatever the max is, double.
I do. Well, I'm in a good place too, where if I feel like sometimes I'll get out at 75 minutes and I'm like, one or two things will happen. If I had a cigar beforehand, I might be a little edgy. My brain isn't able to slow down to where I need it to be. I'll get out at 75 minutes and just call it a loss. And then they just credit me the second half. So I'm like, it works out, if I get half my money back if I don't stay for the full thing, but usually I do. So yeah.
That's crazy. If I told my wife I was gonna go into a chamber where I'd be the least dense thing in the chamber, she would say that wasn't true. So.
I know. Well, it's incredibly refreshing too. What I've noticed is because sometimes I'll go in there, and depending on my state, right? Sometimes I'll do something to affect myself. Like when I'm in the parking lot, I'll and this you might want to filter out, but I'll take a hit or I'll just have like a drink, just something small, not a lot. Because I don't want to be heavily affected. I just want to be slightly influenced. And what it does is it allows me to go in for 2.5 hours sometimes and just have the best nap of your life. And I come out feeling more refreshed the next day. Like it'll get rid of a cold. It'll get, like I'm telling you right now, it's like, it's almost like
That's
a woo-woo
awesome.
level medicinal type thing if you're feeling off. So, yeah, just go book one. You guys will feel
Yeah.
it. You guys will see what I'm talking
Yeah, I got to do it. I didn't even know
Yeah.
about this.
I don't know if
It's
they
really-
have it in Tucson. They have the Cryo. Like they started with that.
Have you done cryo?
I have. I have that membership, and I don't use it as much as I should, but I do like it. That really gets you more focused. Like that's, like you come out and you're like, duh.
Is it?
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I
Yeah,
have
so-
Haven't
psoriasis.
done
It
it.
helps with some skin stuff, and
Okay.
yeah.
So you have Cloud9 flotation and Levity flotation and wellness center. Cloud9 looks like they have better SEO. They're focused on reviews, but both of them seem to have 5 stars, and they're both like above 50 reviews. So,
Look at that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at the Levity Flotation and Wellness Center. They're open till 10 p.m. Those are usually the ones that are going to give you the longer floats. So I would check out Levity. They're in Tucson.
And with a cold, so I've been a little sick, and maybe that'll be the end that knocks it out. I'll go there tonight.
So I don't know, because I don't believe in stuff like, the whole wraps and stuff. And I might offend a few MLMers that listen to this. But, I don't believe the whole quote unquote pulling the toxins out in a lot of applications. And I don't know what it is about it, but you go in there, man, and whatever's just like it could be just a physical pain ailment, like your back hurts. Like, because I have a bad back because I sit in a chair 20 hours a day and work. So it's like, my back is like fucked. I'm sorry. Are we not? Whatever. We're
Don't worry about
It
it.
it's too late. I can't
Well,
take
brother.
it. So I have a really bad back. So it's like when I go into that, and that there's that sense of flotation, there's something about it that regardless of my physical, whatever ailment, whether it's a cold, whether it's a bad back, I come out feeling substantially better than I went in. So
That's awesome.
That's
Stand up
awesome.
desk, brother. I don't know if you've tried it, but the stand up desk is
are they dope?
They're awesome.
It is life changing.
Nice.
Life changing. I'm standing now. I mean, I stand all day. Now my staff asks me for stand up desks because they're like, you are doing something right over there. I'm like,
And then Craig, you do deep squats behind your desk now, right? Yeah, there he goes.
Oh dang,
There
that's
he
like
goes.
deep.
yeah. No, I do orange, like for workout. I do this thing called Orange Theory. So I go to that, which is high intensity interval training.
Mhm.
So a lot of running and some weight stuff. I kind of augment the weight because it's more for, I think, for the ladies, some of the workout, and that's why I'm doing it for the ladies. But
Ladies.
That's what got you into it, really.
yeah, it is. Yeah, that is. My wife's the one that talked me into it, and now I've been going 3 years. But
Here you go, man.
like that combination, right? And that all speaks to prep, right? Like if you're not in the right focus and you're not honed in, then you can't do any of this stuff. You can't.
I know this is probably just be an insurance centric thing, but I think wellness is incredible and something that's actually very neglected in the insurance industry. So this is a great thing to talk about. I just did my first kickboxing class. I haven't worked out in about a decade, which I'm hashtag blessed for my metabolism.
Right.
But like I've gained 15 pounds in the last year, which I'm still fitting into a medium, but it's the lifespan on that.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Yeah,
life-
get ready,
That's
man.
the age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know. And so it's
Yeah.
like, it's like, and so I'm getting to a point where it's like, I need to start taking care of myself. I did a kickboxing class for the first time, and there's this really cool one. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I was really, it's actually funny. I appreciated their marketing, and I was like, well, if they market like this, then I'm assuming they have some kind of decent product. So, I just bought it without even checking it out, just because I thought the marketing was really good. And I went in for the first time. I'd been paying for it for like 6 months. Went in for the first time, and it's called 9 rounds, and they do it's like 9 3-minute stations. And by the end of it, dude, because when I was thinking of it, I had a lot of insecurity. I was like, dude, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I didn't realize it until I started walking up to it because I'd committed. I'm gonna go in today, hell or high water. I'm going in. And all this fear started coming up. I'm like, you haven't done this for 10 years, bro. You don't know what you're. And I used to do MMA fighting, And so I went from that to 10 years of nothing. And it's like, holy shit. And so I'm going to this kickboxing class, And I didn't realize it wasn't even the physical expenditure of it, like from a muscular perspective, that was brutal for me. It's the fact that I'd smoked so many Black and Milds in the last 5 years. I'd smoked thousands of Black and Milds. I had zero, like, dude, I couldn't breathe by the time I was done. It was brutal. So I quit. I literally, as I was driving away, I littered. I threw all of my tobacco out of the window, and I haven't looked back. So,
That's
Good
awesome.
job.
yeah. So life's getting better a little bit. So, you know,
Cool. So we started now. Let's go back.
Okay, let's go back.
You were a captive agent at one point. Most of the people that are going to be listening to this are a lot of Allstate agents.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
what agency were you with?
I was Farmers.
Farmers. Cool.
Yeah. And I'm actually, I like Allstate. So I've done insurance since I was 12. I illegally sold for 6 years until I was able to get licensed. I feel like the statute of limitations is cool on that now. If not, then let's redact that. We'll have to look that up. But my dad's like a 25-year something like that Farmers agent, and so it's
cool.
You know, I grew up in the culture, and I, as a company, at least back then, I really loved Farmers. I mean, there was a lot of good things about it. It was more of a family type company, and I'm sure a lot can change in 10 years. This is back. So like it's a very weird thing for a 30-year-old to be able to say, but I was doing insurance in the dot matrix printer era. Like you had to rip the sides of pages off. And that was back when you'd send a commercial application in, and that, you know, the prospect would call me like, what's going on? And you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for an underwriter. So I'll let you know. It's going to be a week or so. You know, that was
Not even
back
here yet.
Yeah.
I
You know,
think
you
Craig
track
used
stats on
to-
paper.
Yeah, we used
Craig
Abacus
used
and Chisel.
Tablets.
I
Right?
started, yeah.
There you go. Nice. I always saw you for more of a papyrus guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whatever's at hand.
There you go. So you know, I'd done Farmers since I was 12, so it's like 12 to 18. And when I became 18, I knew I wanted to do my own business, and I was going to do it with Farmers just because of my exposure and experience. But I wanted contrast from the family business, because there's an element of you're like, well, I love my dad, but I don't know what he doesn't know. So it's like I need to go find out for myself. So I went to be an agency manager of an Allstate office, and that was a unique experience. I did that for a year just to get you know, contrast in my exposure, and really cool product portfolio. The guy I was working with at the time, I mean, he opened a like refrigerator gasket company, and he thought that would be a more lucrative life for himself. So I was like, dude, I can't stay here. This place is like purgatory for success. So I ended up just saying F it, and I opened my own agency. But you know, I went to Farmers. I did that for 2 years when I was 19 to 20, like late 20. And it was actually really hard. I experienced a lot of ageism, and I don't know if there's any young, super young agents. And at this point in my life, I would consider an 18-year-old agent super young.
Yeah.
You know, and I experienced a lot of ageism. I would have people that would just tell me straight up I'd have the best price. And this is back when, you know, Farmers had the best prices. That's kind of gone by the wayside for a while. But, you know, I'd have to have the best price. The coverage was way better. You know, captives know how this is, because every captive has to sell a value more than price, right? But when the price is right, it's like the stars align too. You're like, oh shit, I'm used to selling on value, but I can sell on price too. Like, this is a good day. And people would literally tell me, I just can't trust my family to an 18-year-old, man. Like, I hear you. It sounds good. And I'm like, you know, so at that point I was like, well, if nobody's going to take me seriously, I'm just going to go make music. So I traveled around the West Coast, doing studio engineering, and working at guitar centers for a few years. Got sick of that because I wanted money. And so I got into life insurance, became a regional manager of a life insurance company, but I got really burnt out. I was working like 120 hour weeks. And I couldn't maintain that. It just like, it was unsustainable. So I eventually opened up my own Farmers agency again, which is the one that you're referring to. That was interesting. It was a very interesting time in my life. It was going well. And this is actually back before I really knew anything about marketing. And if you I think you guys read the book, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the book, boom, there it is. In the beginning of the book, there's a picture of like, and that picture is actually from the Farmers Days back before I really knew anything about marketing. Where we're like, have ideas. There's like, we're like BNI meeting, Chamber of Commerce, church. And I'm agnostic. So like, that was like very hard to write down. Cause it's not that I care one way or another, but there's an element of me where I'm like, this isn't even me. I'm like, I'm saying I want to go to church to network. It's like, God, I felt incredibly lost, and so I ended up going, and you kind of talked about it there, or I talked about it in the front of the book, but we were going to the during a certain era of this, because I was in some contractual issues with the company. We had to go to the plasma center. We were on really hard financial times. And during that era, I was starting to invest into marketing, and you really pay attention to your marketing when the way that you are like the currency that you measure things in is how many liters of blood do I have to pull out of my body to pay for this, and so it cost me, I was paying 7 liters of blood for this course every month that I was in. So like, I was like in it, like I was, and it wasn't even that good of a course. This was the first course I ever took in marketing. It wasn't, it was what I needed at the time. And so I just dove into this and I teared it apart. And I was like, I spent every waking moment diving into it, because I became obsessed, because I was like, finally I found a way to live the life I want, and I didn't think I'd become a marketer. What was interesting about it was I was just happy to have something quantifiable, like I was sick of pounding the pavement or pounding the phone. Like, what does that mean? Like cold calling. And, it was so crazy because I don't know if hopefully none of the agents listening to this have experienced this, but like we would go on and have, there'd be a week I'd work 100 hours and have nothing. And there'd be a week I'd work 40 hours and have so unmeasurable. Like there was not a correlation between effort and result. And that killed me. And so when I learned digital marketing, everything became quantifiable at every level, right? How many leads, what's the cost per lead? How many impressions? Like, are they converting over? What's the cost per 1,000? But like from the marketing perspective, and then when the lead comes in, it's like, how many did we speak with? How many did we close? How many did we lose? Why did we lose? Like every step at every point. And I think that's where I really became obsessed, because like I love sales. I love the, because leads by themselves or whatever, like it doesn't matter if you're great at sales, a phone book will do. And if you suck at sales, there's a referral, you'll lose a referral. Right.
Right.
So it's like sales is ultimately the main skill, even though marketing is incredibly necessary. And, but I really fell in love with, I was like, wow, like I can actually dictate, like if I want X amount of money, I just need to, do the math and figure out what I need to multiply. And then I just do that and I'll have this, right? So input and output became corollary, and that blew my mind. And so I literally went on a warpath, just this death march to get what I needed from life. And so
that's awesome, man. And was that when you were, when you went indie or prior?
So that was what really started, so I got really pissed off because, I was at this conference I was just telling you about, and we only had enough money to buy the ticket. I couldn't afford a hotel, so I packed like one of those, what are those, like those foil blanket thingies,
Yeah.
And it's Texas, so I'm like, I live in Washington, so I'm like, shit, I'll take a foil blanket in Texas over a house in Washington. Like, it's better than my heating bill. So I'm an optimistic person like that, but I didn't have enough for a hotel. I didn't even have enough for the event, but the guy, he was gracious enough he's like, hey man, if you want to film some testimonials for me, or, he let me figure out my way. Right. Cause we were at a hard time. And, so I flew there and I'm sitting in the lobby cause I had nowhere else to go. And one of the agents that came to the event, he was an independent agent, and I'm sitting across from him and I'm having compliance calls from 2 different people at my company. One is from my district manager, one's from corporate. And one is saying they just went through like a systems transition. One's saying I need to I'm going to have to maintain 2 leases because one of their systems is messed up as far as what's in it. and it's like super black or white apparently. And then the other one, I'm getting calls saying that no, I actually have to maintain 2 leases because the address was wrong in the other system. Literally either way, the coin toss, I was supposed to quote unquote maintain 2 leases. And so I'm pissed off. Like the word compliance just makes me go up a wall at this point in my life. And so I'm super pissed off. And I'm having all this problems with my captive company. And then across from me is this independent agent just having the time of his life. He's closing deals like it's nothing. Prices, when you're independent, prices always, it's whatever. If you can't close something as an independent, you just have a sales issue. It's that simple, because most independents that were never captive, they don't know what it is to sell on value. They're used to just being a rate shop, right? Which nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Sure.
I'm just grateful to be bred and forged in the fires of selling on value. I mean, because once you have that, you can go anywhere. And so,
Right.
I'm sitting across from this guy and he's just having the time of his life. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, so I start talking to him. He's independent. And, farmers would always make it sound like that, like we were the Jedi and the independents are the dark force,
Yeah.
right? It's like, you don't want to go over to the dark side. And it's like, what? So when I started finding out about this, I was like, no way, dude, he's like, his life is way better. And the more we're talking, I find out a few of the so we had just taken a rate decrease or a commission decrease, excuse me. They lowered our commissions on like almost every product. And it ended up being, I think, a 38% hit to our book value, which is worth,
That's a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. You start picking up pitchforks at that point. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's like, and I can tell you I mean, my dad, 25-year agent, and this is what sucked. Like for me, it's like, whatever. I'm young, I'm flexible. I can make, you're a 25-year agent, dude. My dad took a 20 or a 38% hit to his retirement overnight, and it's like for the agents like that it's like, that's one of my pet peeves of captives at this point. And any of them, if you're shame on you, if you have the audacity, I don't give a shit what your shareholders say. Shame on you. If somebody put their blood, sweat, and tears into your company for decades, and you have the audacity to affect because the contract doesn't have some sort of clause in it that like locks in commission rates, just straight up shame on you. Like that is the quickest way to repel and cause, an agent force to absolutely hate you. And, I don't know if other captives are doing that. Hopefully Allstate doesn't. But they did that with farmers and I was incredibly pissed. And what actually pushed me out of the door was 2 things that happened within about a 10-minute period. The first was I just found out that the companies that I've contracted with, that my company that I'm loyal to just lowered my compensation on. They're paying this independent dude 15%, and I'm at 9 now. Okay. He can sell products that I can sell, and I'm supposed to be exclusive, but he's like, he can do whatever he wants, and he gets paid way more. So that was like the first thing. And then right after that, I had just announced my new agency logo because I just got my 6 and 63 licenses. And so I got a new logo done. And one of the guys at our district comments on my picture with my logo after I'd just been having all this compliance shit happening. And he goes, not compliant, with the crying, laughing face. And I was like, fuck this. I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to figure it out. I'll sell blood till I die if I have to. I'm done. And I just, we decided to hack our way through the jungle.
How hard was that transition? Figure it out.
I think it's a boogeyman that's self-created. It's incredibly easy. Honestly, it's no more work than an agent is already doing. It's like, it's new. It's right. It's a new frontier, but it's like, you have to have a business plan, right? You should already have one. Right. And you go to carriers and they want to know like, hey, what's your projection? Like, are you going to put money on the table? And then you just have to decide, do I want to go through an aggregator or like a cluster group that's going to essentially, and if you do that, by the way, if you get the right one, like I feel like I did, that's what I did. And that's not for everybody. I'm not pitching that. In hindsight, that I see a lot of reason why people are against that. But this is the way I looked at it. I just got my commission cut. This person, this group is going to get me all the contracts I could ever hope for, one of which is Allstate. And I love them as I think they have a great portfolio of products. I didn't have to do any paper. I just had to sign shit, but I didn't really have to do any paperwork for the appointments. The only downfall is they take like 10% of my 15% commission, but hell, I'm at 13.5 now. That's
Still
still
ahead. You're still
9%.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not only have I learned how to sell on value, not only am I getting like a 50% rate bump on like everything I write, I don't have to do any of the paperwork pretty much. And this was the kicker too. So I get a 50% pay raise in auto. Let's just use auto as a line of business because this is actually the most pivotal. And this is one of a pet peeve I have with captives, because most captives are 6-month auto policies, depending on where you're at. But most places it's a 6-month auto policy, right? So for the same auto policy, I get a 50% pay raise and I get to sell 12-month policies. That's a 300% revenue comparison to selling a 6-month policy on what I had before. It's so much easier to scale a business when I get 300% money now.
Right.
It's crazy. And so there was a lot of pros. The cons are, they call it independent. If you play the independent game, you can be alone, but you don't have to be. I look at independent as a definition of freedom, not isolation. And so I've connected very intimately with other independents that I look to and respect. And I've developed incredible friendships and
All these guys in here, right?
pretty much most of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, my goal with that, and I don't know, I mean, if you guys, I don't know how closely you guys, and I know Jason, you're kind of new to my circle, but Craig, I don't know how closely you followed me over 2018, but I traveled, like I said in the book, I traveled like to like 20. There was like we took 20 trips in 2018. It's like every dollar I was making, I was reinvesting into the dream. Like I was like, we got to go. Like I have to learn. I was like, whoever knows something I don't, I have to learn. I am a student as much as I'm a teacher on this journey, and that's always been really important to me. So I was just on a warpath, man, to grow and connect with the people who are the most pivotal, the most that are going to be influential in this journey, and that's what I did. And so, those independents, I wouldn't have the agency I have right now. And a lot of people do that. They deflect. They go, well, this is scary. They're just going to try to take my ideas. And then when you start to meet people, you realize your ideas ain't shit. It's like,
Right.
I want to get around 100 people that make my ideas feel like they're nothing, because that just means I learned a ton from them.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
100%.
and that's kind of that was a big turning point for me. And I think that's, especially in the insurance world, we're ingrained with scarcity mindsets, right? All the disruption happening, the industry's consolidating, which that might be true, but you know what? We all survived the corded phones. We all survived the internet. Nobody lost their business because encyclopedias are no longer important. Yeah, so it's like, how many different disruptive waves have we survived? We'll figure out a way. If you care to be successful, you'll figure out a way. And so it's like, if we just open up and have abundance mindset on that and go, okay, well, I'm going to connect with people instead of pushing away, because at least if I connect with people and they might take from me, but I'll take from them. I mean, that's sharing, right? And there is so much wealth to be had in that. And so I think if people want to go independent, make friends, have a strong focus on making friendships, and pour into them as much as you're trying to take from them, and you'll have success.
Yeah, Preston, I'd argue that even in this space, right? Even in if we were to hone it down to the Allstate space,
100%.
reach out to the players, right? Reach out to the people that are having success. I mean, that's part of the reason why we're here, and Jason and I are doing this show, is because we've had the ability to talk to so many people, right? And when you the more you talk to, the more you learn.
It's cross compatible too, like I'll sit down with an Allstate agent all day for multiple reasons. Selfishly, because I sell Allstate, I want to know, and who better to know about Allstate than an Allstate agent, right? Like, I suck at Allstate system. It's incredibly simple to write business, but like
most
there's like a remit report. Like, I'm like, that's totally unnecessary. But anyways, there's
that's
definitely
the least of our problems, Preston.
Dude, it's like, it blows my mind. Like, it's like the business doesn't go through or something until, like, I don't know. Anyways, that's so 1889 of a company.
Moves very slow.
Yeah, but I will say, because I have exposure to other platforms, their quoting is incredibly simple. Incredibly.
Mm-hmm.
Allstate agents, I don't think they know how good they have it from a data perspective. Like, some of these carriers, like I was just told by Safeco, which is my favorite carrier overall, and they have the best system. But this is funny. We had a problem looking up a policy that we had just wrote on on a referral from a loan officer that we have. And I got a check in the mail yesterday as I was at the office, and I was like, oh, I'll just mail this off to Safeco because it should have gone to them anyways from the title company. And I look in the notes on Safeco's site, and it says inactive. I'm like, what the heck? What happened? And so I'm like going on, and I can't find anything in there. So I call my agency manager, and it's like 8:00 at night, and so I didn't get a hold of her. So I'm like, like this client doesn't have home coverage. Like, this sucks. And so we call Safeco, and they're like, oh yeah, just don't use that screen. That screen doesn't function. And I'm like, what does that even mean? She's like, you gotta look up that policy number. Well, that would be nice if I had the policy number.
Right. It's on that screen.
Just don't use that screen.
So it's like, and that's one of the things I will say is Allstate has a great system. Farmers had an incredible system. Like, I wish I could go back to that because, dude, independent companies are like straight up, like, they're like, internet, what's internet? And you're like, oh my God, dude, give me Microsoft Paint and a weekend filled with Adderall and I could build a better website than these independent carriers have.
It's remarkable. Very rarely, and I think Jason will support me on this, very rarely do you hear somebody give kudos to Allstate's technology. So
right,
this is
in our industry, it's the only industry that is so outdated technologically. And what's crazy? They pay like 6 and 7 digit to have these shitty systems. I'm like, bro, cut that in half, send it to my agency, and I will find the people to do this for you way better.
I feel like my 14-year-old could put together something a little bit smoother, given the resources.
Yeah. We need to get your 14-year-old into a few of these companies.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important to really cross-pollinate too. Like I love talking to people at Farmers or Allstate or State Farm or, American Family or whatever. Cause there's a lot, right? And it's easy to forget your roots sometimes. Like, we have it so simple. I mean, I have, Safeco, Allstate, I don't know. I could go through my carrier list right now, but like when you have Progressive, Safeco, Allstate, National General, MetLife, Encompass, American Modern, Stillwater, Dairyland, First American, Foremost, Bristol West, Hagerty, Giovera, Foremost, Flood, Nationwide. I got all these other life stuff and everything. But like when you have that, dude, price is not like, what's price? You know what I mean? It's like the risk portfolios, like, are from an underwriting guideline perspective, is wide open. The pricing's wide open. And so it's like, I forget sometimes what it's like to sell on value. And so I love that, dude, because like a successful captive, there's like a hunter in them. There's that, they're the lion. They're just a killer. And dude, I sometimes it's nice to be surrounded by that because we take that for granted sometimes. Like, that culture is, I don't know that I don't know that Allstate agents might, I'm sure some of them do, but I don't know that they are aware of how good they have it from a people perspective, because if any one of those person went independent, and this isn't me trying to tell them to do so, but if they went independent and they're great at sales on value, they will friggin' kill it.
Crush it. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, their life would change.
Hey, you've got to check out the Insurance Dudes Inner Circle coming soon, where you get extended interviews as well as live coffee talks in our private Facebook group. Join the mailing list today at theinsurancedudespodcast.com. Hey, thanks for checking out the Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.